when you talk about personality, so extroverts, introverts, a lot of us really, I know I did this, I was all wrong about what confidence meant. I thought confidence was a personality trait.
I love this. Tell me more.
I thought that people that are outgoing are the confident ones, right? And the truth is, confidence is not a personality trait at all. It's a skill. And a lot of the extroverted people that you know are actually very insecure. I used to be one of them. I used to be the kind of bossy, crass loudmouth that didn't believe in myself, that didn't believe in my ideas, that didn't have the confidence and the courage to really be the real me, who I am, who I'm not, flaws and all. There are a tremendous number of introverted people that feel uncomfortable putting the attention on themselves, but they're very, very confident in their ideas. They definitely believe in themselves. And so when you start to separate confidence not as a matter of personality, but as a skill that you can acquire, because confidence is the ability to move, in my opinion, from thought to action. Because when you're a confident person, you believe enough in yourself and your capabilities that you're willing to try, that you're willing to share. To me, confidence isn't the assuredness that it turns out, it's the willingness to try. And that was a huge insight for me. And what a lot of people don't know about me, although I share this on stage and I'm extremely open about this because this is a topic that's really important to me, is that the single most profound use of the 5-second rule is mind control. And I say that as a lawyer. I will tell you, you can use this stupid trick to cure yourself of anxiety.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. So you struggled very profoundly with anxiety. So walk us through like some nuts and bolts of how you use the 5-second rule, because I think so my hypothesis and the reason we founded Impact Theory is that the world is living through 2 pandemics. The pandemic of the body, which everybody understands because it's so visual.
Yep.
Being overweight, dying of diet-related diseases such as diabetes and things like that. But because the second pandemic, the pandemic of the mind, is invisible, people don't realize how pervasive a suicide is, and I think it's a leading cause of death among young men. I mean, it's crazy. And then that there are ways that they can go about attacking that and fixing the problem. So walk us through that.
Sure, I would love to. So first of all, I literally have struggled with anxiety my entire life. And anxiety, for this conversation, the way I define it is the habit of worrying spiraled out of control. You know, you may say that you are a worrier. That's not true. You have a habit of worrying. A habit is a pattern of behavior or thinking that you repeat without realizing it. So anxiety happens when that pattern of worrying about things spirals out of control, and now it starts to marry and manifest itself with physical sensations too. That's all that it is. I know that I say that's all that it is. Me personally, I struggled with anxiety, I think my entire life. It became quite acute when I was in my late teens and early 20s. I became medicated in the middle of law school. I took Zoloft for 2 decades. When our first daughter was born, who is now 17, the postpartum depression and the cascading panic was so terrible that not only was I medicated and couldn't breastfeed, but I couldn't be left alone with her.
Wow.
So when I say you can cure yourself of anxiety, I don't say that lightly. 4 years ago, after I had been using the 5-second rule to change my behavior, how I spoke to my husband, how I negotiate in business meetings, how I conduct sales, the kind of parent that I am, my health habits, my eating habits, curbing the drinking, I thought, I wonder if I can use this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing to get control of my thought patterns. Not my behavior patterns, my thought patterns. Yes, you can. Wow. So we're gonna build this conversation, because I want to start with something we can all relate to, and that is, how do you stop worrying, and how do you stop listening to self-doubt? This is how you're going to do it. So all day long, you're going to have moments where your thoughts drift, and I use that word on purpose. Because for me, there is a physical sensation when you start to use the 5-second rule and you start to wake up, not only on time in the morning, but you wake up to your life and the opportunities in your life. your thoughts drift. Like you'll just be hanging out with your friends and then suddenly you're like, I'm not sure that that person likes me anymore. I haven't heard from my kids lately. I wonder if they're dead or, as a check, like you just start worrying about stuff. Why? Because it's a habit. Because when you're not paying attention, your brain shifts from you being a decision maker and paying attention to you just kind of spinning things on autopilot. And one of your habits is worrying. The second you wake up and you notice, holy cow, I'm talking some negative garbage to myself right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've just shifted the part of the brain that you're using. You've shifted from the basal ganglia, which is where your habit loops are spinning, and you've awakened your prefrontal cortex. You've also interrupted that pattern. Now what you're going to do, because your mind is actually ready to receive a different thought because of the counting, now you can put in an anchor thought. Like if you have a mantra, if you've got a vision about the way that your business is going to turn out in 5 years, if you just have a thought that makes you really happy and proud, insert that. Now, why does this work? It works because of the counting. And I'm not kidding. We know, based on research, that positive thinking alone, not effective. In some instances, trying to force yourself to think positive can actually make the worries worse. Why? Well, the reason why is because it's really hard to just change the channel. What we have to do first is basically interrupt it and turn off the TV, and then turn it back on with the prefrontal cortex awakened. So the counting is essential. And so you can start using this today. You catch yourself talking garbage to yourself, because we all know if I were to put a speaker on your head and broadcast, you would be sitting here in the audience, you'd be in an insane asylum, because the crap that you say to yourself is insane. And the problem is we listen to it. You'll be in a sales meeting and you'll be undermining yourself. They're not going to buy. Oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. You're not even present. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch it back. Get back to that vision that you have about toasting your success, or this customer being really happy, or you being proud of yourself. Whatever that vision may be, you can control your thoughts. And this is not just us talking about it. This is a tool that you can use. So let's take it a step further. So worrying, if you let it go unchecked, what will happen is you will get used to worrying. You will get used to living in a state where you're slightly agitated all the time. Let me talk a little bit about agitation. So what we know based on research is that physically, in your body, so physiologically, being excited is the exact same thing as being afraid. Let me say that again, because it is so important. In your body, being excited is the exact same thing as being afraid. Your body doesn't know the damn difference. Your heart races, your armpits sweat, you're like, you may get tight in your throat. Your cheeks may get pink like mine do when I get excited. The only difference between excitement and fear is what your brain says. And the problem is, if you have a habit of worrying, guess what you're going to tell yourself is going on? That you're like freaking out. That you're not excited, that something must be wrong. Oh gosh, why would you say something's wrong? Because you got a habit of saying that all the time. Even as I became a speaker for a living, or I'd be on CNN, when I first started doing it, I would be freaking out backstage. But even though, like, just last week, standing backstage, about to go on, 8,000 people, heart races, armpit sweat, my hands get clammy. I'm not nervous though, not at all. I'm excited. And so I developed this technique, and research out of Harvard, not based on my technique, but something very similar, proves that if you basically, right before you're about to do something, take a test, run a race, public speaking, a business negotiation, ask somebody to marry you, whatever it may be that gets your heart racing, just do this. Go, I'm excited. I'm excited to give that speech. I'm excited to ask him or her. I'm excited to do this race. I'm excited. Because what happens is you give your brain context, so your brain doesn't escalate the stuff going on in your body. Your brain's not worried. Make sense?
Yeah.
So you can combine this with the 5-second rule. So we know how to do worrying. You catch your thoughts drift, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, anchor thought. If you start to feel your heart racing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to awaken the prefrontal cortex, and then start going, I'm really excited to do this. I'm really excited to do this. Another technique that you can use is ask, I think they call it interrogatory questions, where instead of giving yourself a pep talk, say, well, why am I ready to do this? Why am I ready? Because that'll force you to answer the question, which then convinces you. So why am I ready to close this sale? Why am I ready to give this speech? Why am I ready? So those are two strategies that you can use backed by science that are proven to actually make your performance be much better. Now let's take it a step further to anxiety. So anxiety is what happens when the habit of worrying spins out of control, your body gets really agitated, and then you allow your mind to escalate it into a full-blown panic attack. So for those of you that have not had the pleasure of having a panic attack, let me explain what it's like. So have you ever been in your car and you're driving down the road and you go to change lanes and all of a sudden there's like, oh my God, there's a car right there, right? And you swerve a little bit and then your heart's like, and you may sweat a little bit and you grip the wheel really tight and you're super locked in on the road ahead of you. But then that car pulls away and the near miss scenario passes and your mind starts going, okay, you're all right now.
Right.
You're all right now. That's it. That's all. That's what a panic attack is, only it happens while you're standing in front of your coffee pot. Seriously. You have that same, oh my God, what about that? And your heart's racing, and the problem for your brain is that your brain can't look around and say, holy cow, we almost got hit by a car.
Right.
Your brain's saying, what the hell is wrong with her? She's making coffee and she's freaking out. And so now your brain has a problem, because what's your brain's job? It's designed to protect you. So your brain will now do whatever it can to magnify the problem. Remember, we talked about the spotlight effect. It'll start telling you all kinds of crazy stuff because it can't figure out contextually what the hell's going on. She's just making coffee, now her heart is racing and she's breathing really. Holy cow, maybe she is having a heart attack. A lot of people that have panic attacks say, I think I'm dying, oh my God, what's happening? Wow. Or you'll see them do the deer in the headlights thing where they got to get out of the room. That is the spotlight effect in your brain, now taking control and magnifying everything to get you out of whatever it was. So here's how you use the 5-second rule. You use it to stabilize your thoughts before the panic escalates. And then what happens is it drifts into worry and then it disappears. Right. So the second you feel worry, you catch it, you train yourself to do that. If you start feeling yourself getting, your heart racing, you can 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and use the I'm excited, I'm excited. If that doesn't work, literally 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just give yourself an anchor thought, literally, of you being okay. I want to teach you how to train yourself to dream big. It's actually a skill. And dreaming big is something that we used to do as kids, right? It was so easy as kids to sit in class because you were bored with, whatever it was that your teacher was doing, and you started to daydream. And as adults, we tend to lose that ability. So the Dream Book is going to be your companion to this program. And here's my philosophy about training yourself to dream big again as an adult. In the Dream Book, one of the things that you're going to be doing as a daily practice is you're going to do something that I do in my book. And that is every time I crack this open, because I keep my notes in here, is I write down the 5 things that I dream about. So I've written down, okay, I'm super, super embarrassed that I've written this down. So I'm gonna tell you what my 5 are, and you can see, you probably can't see how red I'm turning because I have so much makeup on because I was in television today. And in television, they put a lot of makeup on you. In digital, I normally look like shit. But this is why we all need to learn to dream big and to dream authentically, because when you talk about it, you immediately shrink, because we're trained not to have these aspirations. So the first thing that I wrote down is I want to be the #1 talk show in the United States. You know what's so fascinating is I used to dream of just actually being where I am. And now that I've achieved that, I have a dream that's even bigger. And what does it mean, and why is this dream important to me? And this is part of what you're going to learn in the workbook, but I'll tell you why this dream is important to me. Because if we are #1, it means that the work that we're doing that I care so deeply about, which is helping people heal their minds and heal their relationships and to live a more positive, happy, mentally well life, that we're reaching more people. That's what that means. And that's why I want it. I wrote down #1 New York Times bestseller. I have for years said I don't give a shit about it, but I actually do, I guess. And I think it's because it would be really nice to have the powers that be actually acknowledge the impact that we're making. Do I need it to keep going forward? No, of course not. And I will keep going forward. I want to make the Time 100 list for mental health and for the work that we're doing. And the reason why is because as much as I like being an entrepreneur that does things in a very innovative way, that kind of public recognition brings with it resources and partners that would allow you to make an even bigger impact. And so when I think about that kind of recognition, it challenges me to dream so much bigger than I'm dreaming right now about the impact that I want to make in mental health. The fourth one, this is not my dream right now, but I wrote this down 3 days ago, and that is to be the happiest I've ever been living in Vermont. The reason why I wrote that down at the time is because my son is going to go to high school in Vermont, and we are grappling with a move. And I had a mental breakdown when we started looking at houses there, thinking I couldn't live here. One of the interesting things about dreaming is your dreams will change. I love the daily practice of writing in your dream book, the 5 things you're dreaming about, because you'll notice that there are things that show up consistently for you, and that's a sign that it's important to pay attention to it. It's important to walk toward it. And by writing, I dreamed that I'd be the happiest I'd ever be in Vermont, I was doing the work of trying to shift my attitude about how I was feeling about a move when I'm not that excited about it right now. The 5th one is I want to build a summer house. I grew up on Lake Michigan. I've spent the last 30 years not on the water. I dream to be successful enough that someday, in the next decade, I will have the money to buy a fantastic piece of property on the ocean, and I will build an awesome house that is a gathering place for our family. And hopefully that will not include grandchildren in the next decade. In the dream book, you're every single day gonna write the 5 things down that you're dreaming about. And it's okay that they change, because over the course of this month, I just wanna teach you how to give yourself permission to dream. And I think it's also important that you saw how embarrassed I got when I had to read the things that I wrote down to you, because I immediately felt, oh God, are you gonna judge me? Oh gosh, am I being a hypocrite? Oh God, what if I don't achieve these things? Who am I to say these? How am I gonna do this? All that stuff rushed up for me, and I'm the one teaching you how to do this shit. And it's important for you to see that, because all those feelings are normal that are gonna come up, but they're what's currently stopping you from doing the work to live the next best decade of your life and to pursue the things that you dream about. It starts with training yourself to give yourself permission to dream. I have studied morning routines, journaling methods, the science of productivity. It has taken me 3 years to figure out the perfect morning routine journaling method. It takes me less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. Each prompt in the journaling method is backed by science. It is designed to make your mindset more powerful. It's designed to give you control. It's designed to leverage the world's most powerful research around focus and around happiness. And literally, it takes you less than 5 minutes. I'm going to walk you through step by step this week the science behind each one of the prompts. I invite you to print this out. I invite you to go to the 5-second journal and look at the science. And I invite you to think about what's working for you so you can create a morning routine that really empowers your mindset. Because I don't want you to wake up in the morning and immediately let the world in. You're under siege all day long from the world, from your friends, from your work, from your emails, from your social media, from the television, from the 24-hour news cycle. Your dreams deserve 10 to 30 minutes in the morning for you to get your head on straight, for you to focus yourself on things that are positive, for you to figure out how to build momentum and make progress on something that matters to you today, and for you to work on building your deliberate way of thinking so that by doing so, you're going to reprogram your default network in your brain so that your mind automatically starts filtering the world in a way that works for you, That's why I'm teaching you this, because it's all building on the things you learned in week 1, on days 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we're on day 9 now. So the first prompt is very, very simple. And the first prompt is all about your mood. So the second that you wake up, remember, you're going to get out of bed. If your alarm is your phone, you're going to turn the alarm off, but you're going to leave your phone where it is, and you're not going to take your phone with you to journal, because I do not want you tempted to even look at it. I want your head clear. I want you present. I want 10 lousy minutes for your dreams. Don't your dreams deserve that? Doesn't your sanity and your happiness and your sense of control deserve 10 lousy minutes in the morning? Of course it does. So the first thing I want you to think about is your mood. And the reason why I'm starting with your mood is because there is tremendous research about your mood in the morning, and how the mood that you have in the morning and the energy level that you have can impact your confidence all day long. It can impact your productivity all day long. And it's super important for you to do something first thing in the morning to get present to your mood and your energy, and then do something intentional to boost it, because that will have an established, science-backed, proven impact on your productivity and your focus and your happiness all day long. So there's a very simple prompt at the top. It just is, how do I feel? This is your inner compass. This is how you read your energy. It's a little scale, much like a gas tank in a car, from empty to full. Depleted is empty and full is energized. Me, this morning, I woke up feeling meh. You want to, and then over here, you're going to explain, why do you feel this way? Now, it's important to identify why you feel meh or why you feel energized and excited, because it makes you present. You see, we're tuning you into your inner wisdom. We are teaching you how to be present and mindful. And even if when you get present to something that's negative, we're teaching you how to turn it around. See, negative isn't bad, it just is what it is. When you recognize that you woke up and you're feeling, meh, which is how I felt this morning, now that you're present to it, you've got the power to get deliberate and shift it. So why did I wake up and go, meh? I'll tell you why. Because there was some woman in the room next to me who was awake at 4:15 this morning, yapping to the person next to her. They weren't, doing anything that I hate hearing in a hotel room, other people through the wall, if you know what I mean. I'm keeping this family friendly. But she was just talking and talking and talking. And then I woke up again at 4:37, and I woke up again at 5:12, and I woke up again at 5:57, and then I woke up again at 6:20, and then I just got up. I mean, my alarm hadn't even gotten up yet. And I was so annoyed. And that's why it was like, meh, because of this chick next to me in the hotel room. It's actually the first thing that I said to Mandy. So I wrote down, I feel this way because I kept getting interrupted in my sleep and woken up by this person, and that bothered me. And the other reason why I feel meh is my neck kind of hurts. Sleeping in so many hotel beds, it's been lousy for my 50-year-old neck. So now the next thing that you're going to do, how long did that take? 5 seconds. 5 seconds to circle this, 5 seconds to explain why. Now the next one, most important. To feel more energized, I can. We want to boost your mood in the morning. It takes 5 seconds to think about it. So I wrote down, I'm going to get up and exercise. So my business partner, Mandy, and I, we schlepped our way to a Soul Cycle class, a 45-minute spin class here. It was, I'm not in spin shape. That's what I learned this morning. But let me tell you, it boosted my energy. So in just those 3 5-second questions, I have leveraged very profound and powerful science around mood to take control of my mindset. I could have easily in my old life woken up, been interrupted by some woman next door to me in the hotel all night long, been annoyed about it, carried that like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep, all through my entire day. All through my entire day. How many of you have done that? You got a lousy night's sleep, or somebody interrupted you when you're sleeping in a hotel, like what happened to me, or the dog barked and had to go out at 3 o'clock in the morning, or maybe one of your kids came home after a night of partying and then you were upset and you had to deal with that. And then you went back. And so you wake up and your mood is lousy. And then all day long, you basically make one moment where you wake up in a bad mood become a bad day. You're not going to do that anymore. That's the power of a mindset reset. And that's why you're going to start with mood when you wake up. My night routine is very simple. Complete the day and leave no tasks that I have to finish in the morning. It's that's it. And so it's not necessarily that I have a specific order, but there are particular things that I do. Number one, totally set up the kids. So that means pack their lunches. It means get the backpacks ready if it's school season and get them by the door. It means if there's any forms that need to be filled out or printed or anything else, if they are printed, they are ready to go. So kids are handled. Second thing, I want the kitchen clean. I don't ever want to wake up in the morning and walk in there and see crap that I have to do. I don't want dishes in the sink. I don't want things on the counter. And so I make sure that the kitchen is clean, that the counters are cleared off, and that there is nothing I need to do in the kitchen because it will distract me in the morning. I will feel guilt. I will feel obligated to get that done. Third thing that I do is I tend to set out the stuff for breakfast. And the reason why I do that is because my kids will wake up at various times. And so if I've got that thing set up, I've just bought myself a couple more minutes of quiet in the morning before the parade of children come running down the stairs, starving and wanting breakfast. The other thing that I do is I go to my computer and I print out the day calendar for the day ahead. And then I take that printout and I take my notebook that has all of my travel and kind of everything that's laid out for the business that I run and my speaking schedule and the stuff related to the kids, and I move it all to the kitchen. Now, why am I doing this? I'm doing this so that when I leave my bedroom in the morning and I walk into the kitchen to have 30 minutes of quiet time for myself, to get focused, to plan my priorities, everything's set. It's all been handled. There's no thinking involved. It's amazing. Then, once that's all handled, I turn off all the lights, I lock the front door. When I walk into my bedroom, the very first thing that I do, I set my alarm, and then I plug my phone in my closet. That is the single most important aspect of my evening routine. Do it anyway is a mindset trick that you can use when you start to feel excuses rolling up. It works a lot like the 5-second rule. So you have said to yourself, okay, I'm going to talk to my boss today about that thing that I've been avoiding talking to them about. Or maybe you've said something like, I'm going to go to the gym today or tomorrow or whatever. And then the moment comes where you've got to have that conversation. Or the moment comes where it's time to pack up your bag and leave your desk and go to the gym. And what always happens? You don't feel like it. I bet there are plenty of you watching that have made a commitment that, I'm not going to have a drink tonight. And then guess what happens when you get home? You don't feel like not drinking. You feel like having a drink. And so here's what do it anyway has done for me. The idea that I just do it anyway has pushed me to realize and to recognize that there are a lot of moments where there are things in my life that I really want to do, I need to do, I should do, but when the moment comes, I don't feel like it. And so I pull out this idea of, you know what, I'm just going to do it anyway. It's raining outside. I said I would go for a short run. I don't feel like it. I'm going to do it anyway. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. It's cold. I laid out my yoga clothes, but now I don't feel like it. What do? I do it anyway. When you start to say to yourself, I'm going to do it anyway, what happens is something really cool. You acknowledge that there are feelings that you have that are trying to swoop in and hijack you. You acknowledge them and you basically say, guess what? I'm going to do it anyway. Oakley is chomping at the bit that that we asked this question. What is the question?
All right, so
is it on topic?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
It's from Ben S. Snack. How can I make a huge life decision, such as a job change? Move to another state. I want the job, but I'm scared.
Oh, I love that. So the question is, great question, Oakley, and great question, Ben S. Snack. So how do you make a big decision, right? So it's a decision that sounds like he's going to accept a new job, but it requires him to move to another state. And notice what he said. I want it, but I'm afraid. This is the perfect question for right now because you would actually use do it anyway. You see, the thing about the way to make decisions, this is my decision-making tool. I don't think we haven't covered it yet in this, but for those of you that have followed me for a while, you know that I have this decision-making tool. In fact, we talked about it in the journaling method. So in the journaling method, if you go back to videos 9, 10, and 11, and if you look at the journaling method that we talk to you about, and look, I want to tell you something. I'm not asking you to buy this. In fact, please don't buy the 5-second journal. We don't have any more in stock. They're sold out around the globe. We'll print more. Do not buy this. I'm not doing this training to ask you to buy anything. I'm showing you this because for those of you that don't have the journaling method in front of you, if you go to 5secondjournal.com, 5secondjournal.com, if you go to 5secondjournal.com, what you will find is a ton of free templates that will show you the journaling method for free. You don't ever have to buy that. I'm telling you not to buy it. I want to be very clear. The reason why we're doing these trainings is not to get you to buy something, okay? It's to help you learn how to reset your mind. So back to the question. The opening thing in the journal. Do I have one that's open here? Because then I could, well, I'll just open this one. The opening thing in the journal is a fuel gauge that has you tune in, and this is going to get to decision making, that has you tune in to how you're feeling energy-wise every morning. And so let me show you what that looks like in case you haven't seen those videos yet. So you see this little fuel gauge right here. Oh, can you see it on Instagram, Oak? Am I holding it up?
Yeah, just like not that one. Yeah, there you go. Now
Okay,
you can see it really
there you go. So that fuel gauge is a visual cue to have you tune into your energy and to assess whether or not you are depleted and empty about something and heavy, or the other extreme is energized, full, expanded, open to possibility. And the reason why I ask you to do that first thing in the morning to assess your mood, to assess your energy, to tune in, is because there's established research that says that your mood in your morning impacts your productivity and focus all day long. And so if you can boost your mood in the morning, it has a material impact on your focus and on your productivity all day. And so we use it in the morning in the journaling method that I've taught you in videos 9 through 11. But when it comes to decisions, I want you to do the exact same thing. I get that you're scared. It's a change. I would be kind of surprised if you weren't a little nervous about doing something awesome, like moving to a new state and starting a new job and all the possibilities that come in with it. So if you're trying to make a decision, do I do this thing that's scary or not? What you do is tune inward and really assess, how do you feel about it? When you think about yourself living in this new place and having this new job and all the possibility and growth that comes with it, do you feel dead and depleted and stuck? Or do you feel energized and alive and full of possibility? You see, if the decision is something that will expand your future, that will create possibility, that will make you grow, then it is 1,000% something that you must do. And you must do it even though you're afraid. And the fear is a very normal thing. And the fear is there because you're about to do something new. But do not use the fear to talk yourself out of making a decision that actually is grounded in growth and possibility and energizing you. So that's how I make decisions using the stuff that you're learning in the Mindset Reset. And again, you can go back to the journaling method on videos 9, 10, and 11. But if you have a big decision to make and you notice that you're afraid or you notice that you're stuck up here, go in and ask yourself, does the decision deplete me, make me stuck, make me feel dead, make me feel heavy? Or does the decision, even though it scares me, even though it's hard, is there something about it that expands possibility and opens up my life and will give me an opportunity to grow? If you're in this camp, the answer is heck yes. If you're in the dead camp and the hell no, heck no, okay? All right, cool. Let me give you a shout out real quick, because the do it anyway thing, I do it every morning. Because here's the deal about me, you guys. I hate exercising. I hate it.
Yeah, you do.
I do. I hate it. But actually, I should say it this way. I hate going. I hate getting dressed for it. I hate driving there. But I love how I feel when I've done it. I love it. And so do it anyway has helped me get through the front resistance, the part that I hate. And it helps me get there. And once I'm there, I absolutely don't necessarily love the exercise, but when I'm done, I love how I feel. And so that's how I use do it anyway, okay? Every day I use do it anyway, because it works so powerfully for me to push my excuses aside and to actually take care of my body, which is a very important thing in terms of my commitment, in terms of my desire to really enjoy my life fully. But I never, ever, ever, I'm never the kind of person that wakes up and goes, yeah, let's go exercise. I'm never the kind of person that is driving there going, I'm so excited to do this. I'm never the kind of person walking in that's even like, yes, I'm so glad I made it. I dread it, usually all the way through it. Sometimes I half enjoy it while I'm there, but mostly I dread it. But by the time it's over, I frigging love the fact that I went, and that's why I do it. Well, thank you for having me. And you, I think of probably anybody on the planet will get what I'm about to say in your bones, because you understand the profound impact that the 5-second rule as a starting ritual has had on millions of people's lives, helping them move from thinking to doing. And even sitting here, Jim, with you, which it's just an honor being such a fan of your work too, to be here with you, even sitting here knowing the impact that the 5-second rule has had on millions of people's lives. Yeah. I'm going to tell you something.
What's that?
The high five habit is an even bigger deal with more profound change. And I can't wait to unpack it, but I'll tell you personally, I used the 5-second rule to turn my life around, to go from being bankrupt to being extraordinarily successful, to changing every habit I have, to improving my marriage. It got me into action. But I'll tell you what it never did. It never silenced the critic in my head that I lived with. It never ended the relentless beatdown that I was giving myself. And it never broke the habit that I had of constantly hating myself or focusing on the things that weren't working instead of celebrating myself and focusing on the things that were. And the high five habit cuts right down through all that noise and reconnects you with the you that's in there, with the confidence that is your birthright. And the way that it literally reprograms your mind is breathtaking.
Well, we talk a lot about morning routines, and this was the easiest thing to add to my morning routine. That's given me so much in return, and not just in terms of in a short period of time, in terms of the ripple of it, but even just immediately, just celebrating myself in the bathroom mirror. And what we could talk about how that works. I'm also, by the way, pulling back, a big fan of just counting down from 5, getting myself out of bed or getting myself to put on my running shoes. And so I could see the difference and how they complement each other so well. And so maybe we could walk our listeners through this. And I would highly recommend everyone, our audience loves to read, to make sure you get your copy also as well.
Well, so it's very simple. And since I know that your listeners want to get right into the science and right into what to do, I'm not even going to tell you the story, because I did not set out to create this. I created the high five habit on a morning that everybody can relate to, a morning where life felt overwhelming, a morning where I felt defeated, a morning where I felt sort of stuck and dreading the day. And I was standing there brushing my teeth, Jim, and I catch my reflection in the mirror and I think, oh,
you look like hell. And then all of a sudden I started to criticize the way that I looked, like the dark circles under my eyes, the bags under my like kind of chin and neck, and one boob's hanging lower than the other. And then once your thoughts go negative, they kind of take you down. So now I'm thinking about my day ahead and I'm beating myself up. Why'd I get up so late? And I've only got 8 minutes to the first Zoom call and the dog hasn't even been walked. And you just said something interesting. It's an easy thing. The high five habit is an easy thing to add to the morning routine. We all talk a lot about morning routines. It wasn't until I discovered this that I realized there was a piece to my morning routine I was not even aware of. A habit that I needed to break, Jim. A habit that gratitude and exercise and all this stuff was not actually erasing. A habit of standing before the bathroom mirror and either ignoring the human being you see in the mirror or criticizing them. That is how we start our day. 91% of women don't like how they look. 50% of us can't even look in the mirror. I know it's true for men too. We stand in judgment. And so what happened for me this morning, here's the high five habit. It is profoundly simple. It's going to change your life the second you're done brushing your teeth. And I want you to do it right after you brush your teeth, because I want you to stack this habit with something you're already doing. Because you know, because you listen to this podcast, that it's the fastest way to learn a new behavior. Yep. Let's get the gunk out of your teeth so you don't spread dragon breath on everybody. Now let's get the gunk out of your head so you're not spreading negativity throughout your day. As you stand in front of the mirror, I want you to leverage a little piece of research from Harvard. New research shows that if you take less than a minute and you intentionally think about the day ahead and how you're going to show up as a leader, it changes your productivity, your focus, how you show up, and your ability to impact people. Let's throw that out the window in terms of being a leader, and let's look in the mirror and let's use that for ourselves to improve our own lives. I want you to take a second and I want you to realize there's actually 2 people in the bathroom every morning, Jim. There's you and there's a human being in the mirror that's been waiting for you to wake up and realize they need you. They're trying hard. They've got a good heart. They need your support and your encouragement. They need you to see them. They need you to love them. That is literally what I'm talking about when I talk about the high five habit, that you wake up and recognize there is a person you go through life with that stares you back in the mirror every morning, and your habit right now is to tear them down or ignore them. And I want you to set an intention, and I want you to look at them in the morning. And this is going to feel weird because you're going to realize I've never actually asked myself this question. And here's the question. What is that person in the mirror? What is she or he or they? What do they need from me today? We think about it for work, for our families, for everybody else. Yeah. You've never stopped and asked yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror, how do I need to show up for that person today? Then, as you've got that intention, despite the fact that it feels weird, despite the fact that you're going to resist this, and we can talk about why you're going to feel most likely resistance, I then want you to raise your hand and I want you to high five the reflection. And what's amazing about this new habit, Jim, is your brain and your nervous system are already designed to do the work for you.
Because also, I mean, you think about how we high five other people, you know, throughout the day.
Yep.
You know, and to celebrate them, to encourage them, but we're not always doing that. I mean, it's interesting because no amount of love is enough to fill the yearning that our soul requires from ourselves, right? You know, when do we work daily on being in love with that person in the mirror who has been through so much, but is still standing?
Yeah. And think about some of the habits that we know based on research change your life. Meditation. Meditation is profoundly important. The benefits you talk about all the time. Meditation develops self-awareness. It also helps you learn how to be non-reactive to your thoughts, but it doesn't change your default thoughts. Yeah. Gratitude Also hugely important, tremendous benefit. Yes, you should have a gratitude practice. However, almost all of us, when we practice gratitude, we think about things outside of ourselves that we're grateful for. And so the high five habit is about bringing the power back in house. It's about giving you a science-backed tool that will teach you through a simple action how to support, how to love, how to encourage, how to celebrate yourself every single day. And let me explain the science, because this is where things get crazy. The reason why this works is because of the programming that's already in your brain. So you have a lifetime of giving and receiving high fives. In fact, Jim, when somebody high fives you or you high five somebody else, what does the gesture alone of a high five tell somebody else?
That they are extraordinary. They are amazing. Congratulations. You're winning.
Exactly. You don't ever high five somebody and say, I hate you. You always high five and are like, I love you. We got this. No problem. Go get them. You're going to win. Even if somebody just blew it, you high five them and it's like, shake it off. Come on. I still believe in you. Let's go. And so all of that programming is right here in the interior of your brain. It's in your basal ganglia. It is in your subconscious. It is sitting there and it is married to the action of high fiving. So what happens is when you stand there, you set this intention, you're with yourself, you see yourself, you feel the resistance, you ignore the resistance, you go to high five yourself. Your brain's like, oh, I know what this gesture means. It activates the subconscious programming. It silences the critic and the beatdown. You can't think anything but positive thoughts. It's impossible neurologically because of the programming already in your brain. And then over time, if you do this, give me just 5 days. You do this 5 days in a row, fight through the weirdness because it's new and the resistance because you have the opposite habit. You judge yourself, you reject yourself. When you high five yourself, it silences that. It activates the programming that's already in your brain and it starts to marry it with your own reflection. And that's not all. I talked to our buddy, Dr. Amen, the other day. He went bananas when he heard about this. He's like, Mel, holy cow. Do you realize you also get a boost in your mood because when you high five other people, you get a dopamine drip. So you get a dopamine drip when you do this to yourself. He also said, you know how when you come into the bathroom and you're kind of dragging in the energy and when you high five yourself, whether it's because you laugh or because you just kind of feel good, you get this little like pep in your step. So you start your day feeling slightly more energized. I'm like, yeah, Dr. Amen, tell me about that. He said, well, that's your nervous system. Your nervous system is encoded with celebratory energy. When you cross a finish line, you raise your hands. When your favorite team scores, you raise your hands. When you say hello to somebody, you raise your hands. When you hug somebody, you raise your hands. When you high five, you raise your hands. Your nervous system remembers it. That's where the energy comes from. The coolest thing about the high five habit, Jim, is the programming is already in you because you've been doing this your whole life for everybody else.
Yeah. And we are hardwired for this.
Hardwired. In fact, when you were born, DNA in your DNA was celebration and joy. Little kids, when you see them in front of a mirror, they don't step back and go, my thighs are fat. Man, I'm a loser. They don't do that. They spin, they high five the mirror, they kiss the mirror, they love themselves. This is your birthright. It was your life experience that taught you to judge and reject yourself. And I'm here to tell you this simple habit of standing before the mirror and raising your hand and high-fiving yourself like you so willingly do for everybody else. Yeah. You don't have to say a thing. You can have resistance. You can feel that it's weird. You can literally reject it in your mind as you start to do it, and you will experience massive transformation as you complete the gesture because your mind is wired for this. You know, my husband, Jim, a lot of people know the story because it was his restaurant business failing that rocketed us into this personal crisis. And that's when I invented the 5-second rule. Well, his best friend and he worked at that restaurant business for 7 years. And at the end of the 7 years, they sold it for a song to a new investor. And our best friend, his business partner, was able to shrug and go, okay, well, that's entrepreneurship. I'm very proud of what we did. I'm proud of how hard we worked. And, you know, did we return the profit we wanted? No, but I'm still proud of myself. My husband couldn't do that. My husband said, I failed. Do you know for 7 years, he has looked in the mirror every morning, Jim, like so many of us do, and dragged his past in there and said, because this thing in my past, I am a failure. I am unworthy. I am unlovable. When I first started this high five thing in April of 2020 to pick myself up after getting fired from my dream job as a talk show host and in the throes of the pandemic and my kids in crisis and the world in crisis and just feeling overwhelmed, Chris couldn't do it. And the reason why he couldn't do it is the reason why everybody's resistant to doing it. It's because he was dragging all of that judgment and everything from his past into the bathroom every morning. And he was saying, because of that experience, I don't see a human being that's worthy of celebration. So if you've experienced trauma or abuse or discrimination, or you've been abandoned, or, you know, you're a human being and you've done things you've regretted, or you wish you could change and you'd forgive Jim or me for it, but you stand in judgment of yourself, you will resist this because right now you see a human being who doesn't deserve celebration. If you're like Jim and I, and you are very much achievement driven, you may realize as you resist this that you don't celebrate yourself unless you've done something, unless you've worked out, unless you've got the money in the bank, unless you're driving the Range Rover, unless you fix that thing. And what I'm here to tell you is we got it all opposite, Jim. Yeah. You see, we've been withholding the very support and celebration that we need in order to feel inspired, encouraged, and motivated to take the actions that change our life.
Hey, I'm Mel Robbins, and I'm going to teach you the 4 simple steps that you need to follow in order to manifest the right way, according to research and science. I'm so glad you're watching this. Manifesting is an incredible skill to develop in your life and to practice and build consistently as something that you do. My definition of manifesting is manifesting when you do it following the 4 steps you're about to learn according to research and science. What manifesting does is it trains your mind, your body, your spirit to align with what you want to achieve in life. Manifesting is a way to prepare or socialize your mind and your nervous system and your body to do the work that's necessary to getting what you want. And so the steps that I'm going to walk you through work, they're based in research, and what they're doing is they remove all of the obstacles that would normally stop you from taking action. Because just thinking about what you want isn't going to get it done. What ultimately creates results in your life are actions. And so manifesting is a way to train yourself to take the actions that will change your life, that will help you get what you want. Manifesting also removes self-doubt, resistance, excuses, imposter syndrome, all the things that would normally stop you from taking the actions. The 4 steps that you need to follow, really simple. Step number 1 is give yourself permission to dream with the lid off. This is really important. And the reason why this is important is because I guarantee you that right now you are not even allowing yourself to fully dream or think about or set goals that are truly aligned with what you deeply want in your heart. That you aren't even able to manifest properly because you're not even honest with yourself about what you actually want. This is a really common thing because you're allowing your self-doubt, you are allowing your fears, your anxiety, your insecurity, you're allowing where you are to dictate and limit where you want to go. And so step 1, super important. You must allow yourself, give yourself permission to start dreaming with the lid off. Now, the scientific reason why this is so important is because you have a filter in your brain called the reticular activity system. I write about the RAS for short, the reticular activity system, extensively in the High Five Habit. The RAS is a filter in your mind, and you can do simple things that change the structure of that filter. In fact, the filter in your mind, the RAS, is always changing. So one thing that you can do in order to teach yourself how to dream with the lid off is to adopt a simple habit. Every single morning, I do a very simple thing. I write down 5 things that I want. That's it. When I start my day, after I get up when the alarm rings, I make my bed, I pull on my exercise clothes, I set an intention, I high-five myself in the mirror, I then go out into the kitchen, I crack open my high-five journal, and then inside the journal there are prompts that walk me through the steps of visualizing. And the first prompt is dream with the lid off. Set your spirit free. Write down 5 things every morning that you want. And this is important because when you get what you want out of your head and you physically put them on a piece of paper, research shows that you're 42% more likely to achieve those goals simply by writing them down. That's pretty cool. Secondly, your mind is paying attention. And when you take deliberate action and you write down what you want, you are signaling to your brain that you deserve to have these things. You are signaling to your brain that you do want those things. You're not just going to think about them. These are things that matter to you. And that helps train your mind to allow you to let the desires flow through you. Because right now, you're not manifesting properly because you're not even allowing yourself to dream with the lid off. So that's step number 1. You're going to start writing down 5 things that you want every single morning as a way to train your mind to let you dream freely. So a couple things about this little practice of writing down 5 things that you want every morning as a way to train your mind to allow you to dream again. First of all, you can write down the same 5 things every day. It's your list, your dreams. You get to do this how you want. The second thing that you could do is you could just write down different things every day. It doesn't matter because really what manifesting is manifesting as a way to train and prepare your mind, body, and spirit to help you. And if your mind is blocking you and your mind won't even allow you to fully want the things that you want, like, for example, maybe you want to be a New York Times bestselling author, but you won't even write that down because you don't think it's possible. If you won't even write it down because your self-doubt is stopping you, you're not dreaming with the lid off. And so this simple exercise, write down, I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. I want a house by the beach. I want to take my family to Disney World. I'd love to meet the love of my life. I'd like to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I want to open a wine bar. I'd love to get in the best shape of my life. I'd like to do a handstand this year in yoga. I'd like my dog to start barking at the neighbors. Whatever you want, it doesn't matter. You're just training yourself to dream. And that's step 1. Allow yourself to want what you want. Step number 2 for manifesting properly according to science is you must visualize the steps that lead you to the thing that you want, not the end goal. This is a major mistake that people make. They manifest improperly because all they do is focus on the end goal. If you've ever made a vision board, think about what you put on the vision board. You put up just the beach house or the $1 million in the bank, or you crossing the finish line, or you launching that business, or you having the body that you want, or you driving the Maserati, whatever it is. The end goal is what you put up on a vision board. That is not what you're going to do when you manifest. If you start focusing on crossing the finish line of the marathon, that is a one-way ticket to being unmotivated and completely discouraged. In fact, research shows that if all you do is focus on the thing that you want and you just focus on that vision of you and your bikini body, or you with the love of your life on your arms, or you at the Oscars winning that award, or the Grammys, what happens is because you've only focused on the end goal, you start to feel really unmotivated and discouraged because you're nowhere near it. That's where manifesting comes in, because we're not going to focus on the end goal. You got to pick something that you want in order to get started. But manifesting isn't about the end. It's about the bridge. It's about going from where you are here to where you want to go. Imagine that there is a bridge that connects where you are right here
with what you dream about doing. Now, that dream could be to be a Grammy Award winning singer-songwriter. That dream might be to have a family of your own. That dream might be to have a beach house or a ski house or to take a trip to Fiji. That dream can be whatever the hell you want it to be. But when it comes to manifesting, once you've given yourself permission to dream with the lid off and really want what you want, to feel the pull of that thing, now we got to talk about the path that connects where you are with where you want to go. And this is all about visualizing the little steps. There's a lot of research that proves why visualizing the steps is the most important thing that you could do. There was a study done at UCLA, for example, where they were researching manifestation and the power of visualization, and they broke students into two groups. And they had Group A, we're going to call these the vision board group. They had Group A close their eyes, visualize in their mind, and feel in their body themselves taking the test and then walking up to a board where the test's scores were posted and finding their name and seeing an A+. That's what Group A, the vision board group, were told to do, to visualize themselves achieving what they wanted. Group B, we're going to call these the hard workers. These students were coached in this research project to close their eyes and to visualize going back to their dorm room, sitting down at the desk, and studying, and staying up late, and putting in the work, studying and preparing for the tests. Now let me ask you a question. Which group do you think did better on the actual test? Was it Group A, the vision board group, who were taught to visualize and picture themselves walking up to a board and seeing the A+? Or was it Group B, the hard work group, the group that was taught to close their eyes and visualize and seeing themselves doing the work to study for the test? Well, if you answered Group A, you're wrong. If you answered Group B, you got the correct answer. The reason why Group B, the students who visualized studying for the tests, got better test scores, is because when you visualize yourself doing the work, visualizing it leads you to doing the work. And it's only through actions that you will get the result that you want. Preparing your mind and visualizing yourself doing it lowers your resistance and leads to you taking the action. That's why manifesting works. You know, the same is true in sports. There's all kinds of research in sports psychology. In fact, our Olympic athletes for the U.S. Olympic team, they hire sports psychologists to train our top Olympic athletes, particularly after they've been injured, in visualizing themselves competing. When you coach an athlete to mentally rehearse every single detail about going through the competition, you are training the mind, body, and spirit to show up and dominate. This is particularly true for athletes after they've been injured and they're stepping back into competition. If you've been injured in competition, you're naturally going to feel anxious. You're naturally going to be nervous. Your brain and nervous system circuitry is now programmed with the intensity from that injury, the memory from the injury. So of course it's natural to bring that into your pre-competition feelings about it, right? So manifestation properly, remember what it is? Manifesting is preparing your mind, body, and spirit to do the work. It's aligning your mind, body, and spirit with what you want. It removes the obstacles that would normally stop you, which then prepares and motivates you to take the actions to succeed. So in the case of athletes who visualize themselves and see themselves doing all the steps over and over, they're removing the nerves. They're removing all the programming related to the injury. They are preparing their mind, body, and spirit to go in and frickin' dominate. And so are you, because that's step 2. You gotta see it. The third step is you're gonna feel in your body what it feels like to do the work. So let's go back to the research project at UCLA. Not only do I want you to close your eyes and picture yourself going back to the dorm room. Notice I'm closing my eyes. It's because manifesting is a habit for me. And when I manifest, I get in it, man. I close my eyes. I go into my mind. I am literally in my imagination there. And I not only can see myself doing the work, I can feel it. You can feel what it's like to walk into that dorm. You can feel what it's like to sit down. You can feel the heavy backpack hit the table. You can feel yourself crack open that book. You can feel yourself sitting at that desk and the desk light. And you can also even feel what it's like, can't you? As the sun starts to set and it gets darker outside and the light on your desk starts to get brighter and take things over, you can just put yourself right there. And the feeling is super important because, again, manifesting is mind, body, spirit. We got to get your nervous system involved. We've got to make you feel like you're at the scene. One of the reasons why feeling it is so important is because it magnifies the imagery in your mind. And when your mind rehearses something, here's what's cool about your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you studying for that test or you doing the work to start that business or get healthy or put yourself back out there or heal your trauma or save the money to get that house that you want or whatever it is that you're visualizing. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you visualizing those things and you actually doing them. In your mind, it's the same. So it's almost like a training run for a marathon. You are building a muscle that helps you win when you take the actions. It's so cool. And so you not only want to feel what it's like to study for that test, put yourself at the scene. You also want to feel a sense of pride that you're doing the work. And the pride piece is really important because the pride piece acts almost like a booster. It amplifies the memory imprint. When you like bring this, wow, there I am, I'm doing the work, I'm proud of myself, I'm staying in, I'm putting in the extra work. Somebody said no and I kept on going. I didn't stop when the first venture capital firm said they wouldn't invest. There I am investing again. When you feel this sense of pride in yourself, it supersizes the imprint and the rehearsing. And so it's a super important part of the feeling. Not only feel the steps, feel the pride that you're doing it. This is so important that I want to give you yet another example. Let's say that your bucket list, something on your bucket list is to run a marathon. For me, it was on my bucket list when I was a young mom to run the New York City Marathon. Now, what's interesting is I applied, I got a number, and when I won this number out of a lottery system with the New York City Marathon, I was a brand new mom. I was totally out of shape. I was not at all in any kind of a place to run the New York City Marathon. Now, here's the thing. I used visualization to help me lower my fear and my excuses. Because when I got the number, I did not have a lot of time. If I had been a person who was not visualizing, I probably would have said, I don't have enough time to train. I'm not ready. I can't do this. All the excuses would have come in. But instead, I used visualization. Now, how do you use visualization for, say, a marathon? You do not want to visualize crossing the finish line. That is how you visualize incorrectly. Luckily, I knew how to visualize at this moment in my life. You need to visualize yourself going from 0 to preparing to run that race. So what does that mean? That means you need to visualize, oh, there I am. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I don't feel like getting up, but I'm getting up and I'm putting on my sneakers and it's dark out and I don't feel like going for a run, but there I am going out the door alone in the cold. Wow, I am going for, I'm pretty proud of myself because I'm training. Oh, here's another thing you could visualize. I'm on a training run, it's mile 7 and it starts to rain and I keep going. Wow, I'm wet and I'm still running. I'm proud of myself because I'm out there training. It's mile 11 and my earbuds just lost battery. I don't have any more music. I got 5 more miles to go. I'm out here for almost another hour. And I continue going. And I continue going. and I see myself completing that 16-mile training run. And I allow myself to not only feel what it feels like to push through that moment when those earbuds run out of battery, but I also feel proud of myself for pushing through. That's how you prepare yourself for the thing that you need to do, because it removes the obstacles that would stop you from pushing through at mile 11 when your earbuds run out, because you've already rehearsed the moment in your mind. And then finally, step 4, and this is where a lot of people, not naming names, but this one is like really important. You need to do the work, okay? You got to do the work, because it's only through your actions that you will accomplish what you want. Let's say that you've always wanted to climb a particular mountain, okay? There's a mountain called Haystack. It's not even that tall, so I should probably pick a bigger one, but let's just call it Haystack Mountain. You've always wanted to climb Haystack Mountain. You pull up to Haystack Mountain, and you get out of the car, you park at the, National Forest parking lot, and you make the mistake of looking up at the mountain, which is the end goal, right? And you notice it's up in the clouds. And then you start to think, oh my God, that's a really far way away. I don't really know how I feel about doing this anymore, because that looks like it's going to take a really long time. And then all of a sudden it starts to rain. And you go, I don't think I want to do this, because I don't think I feel like doing this. And next thing you know, you are back in the car, driving back down the road to that little diner that you saw. And instead of climbing the mountain that you've always dreamt of climbing, you've now come up with an excuse, and you have abandoned ship. You now have literally become your own obstacle. You talked yourself out of it. You started to doubt yourself. You told yourself you weren't ready and that you didn't feel like it. You pull the ripcord, you're out of there. In order to have what you want in life, you must stop staring at the top of that mountain. You must stop creating excuses for why you can't or don't feel like it. And you must put your head down and look at the first step in front of you. And then you must take the action and start walking toward what you want. And it'll be a hell of a lot easier for you to do that if you have also been putting in the time every day consistently to not only see yourself walking up that trail step by step, but that you have felt yourself pushing through the resistance, the fear, the obstacles, the excuses that are stopping you now. And feel proud in every fiber of your being as you push through those obstacles and see yourself and feel yourself doing the work. That's how you manifest properly. And if you do that before you pull into the national park parking lot, if you look up at that mountain and you see clouds and it starts raining, it won't matter, because you've already rehearsed this moment in your mind, body, and spirit. And you, my friend, will start walking up that trail. And you're going to be proud. That's how you use manifesting to get what you want. That's how you leverage all the science and research to train and prepare your mind, body, and spirit to help you get what you want. And that's how you hack the motivation and inspiration that you need to take the actions that get you everything that you want and deserve in life. Okay, so, this is kind of my brand of advice. It's got to be incredibly stupid on the surface.
Yeah.
It's got to be so simple, it's really implausible that it works. Mm-hmm. And once you start unpacking it, it has to have a crazy bananas amount of scientific proof and real life proof in people's lives to prove why it works. Okay. So I'll tell you the story first behind the high five habit, because I did not set out and go like, oh, okay, I've written the 5-second rule book. I need to come up with another 5. I have been toiling away with what book to write for nearly 5 years.
Yes.
So it's been 5 years since I've had a book in print. And I had this random morning where there's a lot going on in my life. I'm not going to get into it because it's a boring story, but I was just having a really hard time in my life. And I woke up, got out of bed, I made my bed like I always do. I walked into the bathroom, I'm standing there brushing my teeth, and I catch my reflection in the mirror. And my first thought is, God, you look like hell. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I know women in particular can relate to this, but what a lot of people don't realize is you guys are incredibly hard on yourselves too. Mm-hmm. And so as I go, God, you look like hell. I start then cataloging all of the things that are wrong with my appearance. I'm like, your gray hair is coming in, you've got stripes on your neck, one of your boobs is lower than the other, you know, you look exhausted. And then as soon as you have a negative thought or a self-criticism, it's sort of like lint in a dryer. Once you start collecting it, it just keeps on collecting it. So now I'm thinking not about how horrible I look or how tired I look. Now I start thinking about all the stuff I need to do. I start going, oh my gosh, I got up a little too late and I've got a Zoom call in 8 minutes. I don't even have a bra on yet. The dog needs to be walked. And I could feel my energy going down. Like I just felt the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed, uncertain. You know, it doesn't even matter what was going on in my life at that time, because I think it's a universal feeling to feel overwhelmed by your life at times.
Yes.
And so here I am, a motivational speaker.
Unmotivated.
Unmotivated, uncaffeinated, no bra on, standing there in my underwear with my dog at my feet. I don't know what came over me. But as cheesy as it sounds, I just raised my hand and gave the tired, haggard woman in the mirror a high five. And it didn't change my life, like right then and there. But something shifted. Like I felt a little lighter. I felt like I wasn't alone. I felt like, okay, you know, this moment in your life is hard, but you can do this, Mel. And I went on with my day. So the second day, I woke up, and this is when things started to really kind of churn in my mind. The first thing that I noticed was this. So I wake up, Lewis, and I make my bed. And I realized I was looking forward to that moment in the mirror where I was going to see myself. Now, look, I'm 52 years old. I will probably have a hot flash during the middle of this interview at some point. I'm a lot older than you.
Just don't eat lobster.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I know. I had a really allergic reaction the last time we were together. Wow. But I have spent the first 45 years of my life either criticizing the woman in the mirror or ignoring her. And this was the first time that I could remember that I was actually looking forward to seeing myself. Sort of like, you know, when I was coming here today, you and I are very good friends. As I was walking into the building, I'm feeling excited to see you. And it wasn't like I was feeling excited to see myself. Like, I'm not like, yeah, because I got a lot of crap going on in my life. But I felt a little bit like I'm about to see a friend. And so that second morning, I high-fived myself again. And again, I feel something shift. I feel just a little lightness in the mood, and I go on with my day. So the third morning, I do it again. And again, like lightness. And so I keep doing it. A couple weeks go by. And now I'm starting to feel a little bit of momentum. And I'm really enjoying it. I have no idea what the hell is going on. I haven't even done this in front of my husband, Chris, yet, because let's be honest. Standing in front of a mirror.
High-fiving yourself.
Yeah, like, come on, how pathetic does it get? You're like, is your life that bad? So I snap a photo of myself. I've got my retainer in. I got bed head. Like, I'm not looking glamorous. I did not expect this to be the photo that would ignite a movement. And within an hour, I posted on my story on Instagram. Within an hour, at least 100 people tagged me. All over the world. People high-fiving the mirror with their kids, people on a submarine high-fiving it in the military, people MMA, like just, and I thought, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I'm not the only one that needs a little boost in the morning. Maybe I'm not the only one who feels alone. Maybe I'm not the only one that is missing a sense of encouragement and control and confidence in an overwhelming moment in my life. Maybe there's something here. And then the messages started to come in. Whoa, Mel, like I have been using this for 5 days. This woman wrote to us, Lewis. She's had body dysmorphia for 20 years. Has not been able to look at herself in the mirror. 5 days of doing this high five. And she said, I can look at myself and I even see beyond the body. I see the person. And I can grin. We had a woman who wrote to us who said that she was in a domestic violence shelter. She had escaped a very abusive relationship. She had seen me talking at our friend Jamie Kern Lima's event. She started doing the high five thing. She DMs us and she says that you know, I have childhood trauma. I've just been in a physically abusive relationship. I've lost everything. I'm in a domestic violence shelter. What this high five in the mirror is teaching me is that I still have myself. And so that was when I said, I got to figure out what's going on.
Right.
And I started to unpack the research. And the research around this simple ritual, I love that you called it a ritual, because I want people to habit stack this with brushing their teeth.
Right.
This is so life-changing. It's so simple. The science here is like, you can't believe it. And once I unpack it, you're going to be like, I can't believe how cool this thing is.
Right. So what's the science say?
Okay, so the science. Let's start with the first thing. So the first thing is that when you first try it, okay, you will not be able to raise your hand and high five yourself and be like, you suck, Mel, or today's going to be terrible. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that for your entire life, you have given other people high fives. So when you give a high five or you receive one, what is a high five? Just the gesture alone. What does this communicate if we do this to each other? High five.
Nice job, good work, you're doing amazing. Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah, I believe in you. I love you. Let's go. If you blow a shot and you got to get back in the game, a high five's like shake it off. You can win.
Yes.
And so all of that lifetime of high fiving other people and the messaging associated with it is programmed right here in your subconscious brain.
Right.
There's a field of study called neurobics, which is about...
Neurobics.
I know, I didn't make that up.
Interesting.
It's interesting. Physical movement plus new neurological activity. When you marry an unexpected physical movement with new neurological activity, it's the fastest way to forge new neural pathways in your brain.
Okay.
Okay? We know the example, you've covered this on your show, of brushing with the wrong hand and thinking positive thoughts. And the reason why that works is because when you're brushing with the wrong hand, it's unexpected, your brain doesn't expect it, so instead of drifting off about the fact that you need to walk the dog, you have to focus, so your prefrontal cortex is engaged. You're not used to high-fiving your own reflection, so it's an unexpected physical movement that then activates all of the positive programming in your subconscious. So when you raise your hand and you high five your tired self, Lewis, what happens is all of the messaging with this, the high five, I believe in you, I love you, I celebrate you, you got this, keep going, come on. It actually fuses with your freaking reflection.
Wow.
It's impossible to criticize yourself.
Yeah.
Your brain won't allow it because it's not wired that way when you're making that motion.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
It's hard to say you suck. You don't matter to anything. It's hard.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And so this lifetime of positive subconscious programming associated with high-fiving other people gets fused with your own reflection in this ritual. That's just the beginning, okay? Wow. That's just the beginning. The second thing that starts to happen that's really interesting. So, you know, we've had a ton of people do this, obviously, around the world. Super easy idea. It's spreading around the world. We start interviewing people about what's going on, and this is what we notice. We notice that one of two things happen when you first try this. So here's how I want everybody to try it. You're going to go into the bathroom and, you know, do it before or after you brush your teeth. And that's important because I want you to make this a ritual that's part of your morning routine. And so we need to stack it with something you already do. And you're going to stand there for a minute and I want you to look at yourself. Now that right alone, most of us don't do. Look at yourself. Right. And I want you to just think about the day ahead. This is based on more research. So recent studies show from the University of Florida that if you take just a minute and you set an intention about how the day is going to go, about who you're going to be, how you're going to show up, what's the one thing that kind of matters to you to really make make progress on, if you just kind of set that intention, who am I going to be today? How am I going to show up today? Even if it's a hard day, how are you going to show up? And then you raise your hand and you seal it. Research shows just setting the intention alone changes your mood. It boosts your productivity. It increases your ability to make an impact on other people. And so when you seal it with this high five, it becomes this ritual of setting an intention for the day and also silencing the critic and reprogramming the default setting about how you see yourself, whether or not you believe in yourself. And you leave that bathroom feeling like the wind is at your back. Now, when people do this for the first time, so you're going to stand there tomorrow and you're going to go, okay, Mel Robbins and Lewis, geez, I'm sitting here. brush my teeth. Okay, this is stupid. You're going to just start rejecting it. I guarantee you. This is the coolest stuff you're going to have the biggest resistance to. Mm-hmm. And so for those of you that just raise your hand and do it, you're going to immediately be like, why have I not been doing this? It feels good to be encouraged and supported.
To high five yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why have I not had my own back? Why do I stand here and criticize myself? Why do I allow this moment every single morning to be a moment where life takes over and I drift into autopilot? Why am I not taking this moment for me to build a partnership with myself?
Yeah.
The second group of people, and this is the larger group,
Right.
resist it. And this is really interesting. And the reason why you resist it, and the reason why it feels weird, is because you believe you're not worthy of support or celebration.
From yourself or from others?
Period.
Wow.
So
Why do we think we're not worthy of celebration?
Well, for people that grew up in a chaotic, violent, or whatever household, it was your lived experience.
Yeah.
I think that for many of us, we look back on our lives and, the cognitive negative bias has us focus on the things that went wrong. Mm-hmm. And so you begin to tell yourself a story about your life that is basically a pyramid of all the things that you regret, of all the things that you wish had done over, of all the things that you don't like about yourself. And so you drag that with you into the bathroom every morning.
Yeah.
And you stare at the mirror and you see somebody that has screwed up. You see somebody who's not where you're meant to be. You see somebody who doesn't have the number on the scale or the car that you wanted or the job that you had hoped for or the relationship that you had always dreamed about. And so standing there, you believe you're not worthy of support or celebration. And it's this deep belief. We talk a lot in the personal development space of, oh, I'm not good enough. I actually think that's the polite thing that people say. I believe that people have a much more horrible way of talking to themselves.
Like what?
I can't say it on TV, but I can say it on the internet. I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm worthless. No one will ever love me. I screwed up my life. I'm a failure. I'll never amount to anything. Mm-hmm. It's too late. I'm a bad person. I think people actually say this to themselves.
Yeah. And they say it over and over again.
Yes.
Daily.
Yes. And just like ruts on a dirt road, it starts to wear in your brain and it becomes the familiar path. And so you stand in front of the mirror and, I'm telling you, raise your hand and let all that positive programming you've given to everybody else. We are amazing at celebrating everybody else. We cheer for our favorite sports teams. We buy tickets to, our favorite musicians. We throw birthday parties for people. We take on extra work for our colleagues. We help our family members out and our friends out. But when it comes to supporting ourselves, we don't know how to do it. No. In fact, there's a lot of people that think it's selfish to put yourself first, or that you're arrogant if you do.
Right.
I'm here to tell you it is essential to your well-being, to your fulfillment, to your happiness, all of it. So if you're feeling resistance, you're either going to feel it because you already have a deep story that you don't deserve it because of your track record, your past, because of what's happening in your life. Or you're going to feel resistance because you have been trained to believe that you only deserve that kind of stuff when you're winning. Like if I don't have that car, I don't get the high five. If I didn't get that promotion, I didn't deserve it. If I am not in a loving relationship, I don't deserve to be celebrated because I'm not actually achieving or doing the things that warrant that. I'm here to tell you, I'm on a mission to make every human being realize that if you wake up in the morning and you're breathing and you're standing in front of that mirror and you have survived the stuff you have survived and you are still waking up and trying to do better, you not only deserve a high five, you need it. Because what we also know based on the research is that empowerment, support, kindness, love, celebration, it is the single most motivating force on the planet. Tough love is a bunch of baloney. What really fuels people, particularly when you're going through a challenge, is feeling celebrated, seen, and supported. And the research bears it out.
Yeah, I can think of the times when I was with on sports teams where I had great, loving, encouraging coaches. It made me want to work harder from a more energized place, an abundant energy. But when I had the coaches that would just degrade you and put you down and call you names in front of your teammates and make you feel bad, it would drive me to try to be better, but it was always like harder. And I never felt satisfied. I never felt fulfilled. I always felt like even when I accomplished something, it still wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And then I repeat that pattern. Like, okay, I'm going to accomplish, but it's not enough to feel loved. And so let me keep accomplishing in order to feel loved, but I still don't love myself because it's not good enough.
Yeah.
So let me go for the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because I have a photo on my phone that my my therapist told me to do this exercise in like 8 months ago, which was a strategy for me to reclaim the love for myself. So I have a photo of my childhood self. I don't know if people can see this on YouTube.
Cute you are.
But a photo of me, this is probably when I was like 5 or 6, maybe I was 7. But something that I've tried to do and really been integrating in my life is to reconnect with the child where I felt like I stopped loving myself.
Okay, so let's talk about this right now.
Yeah.
You ready? So let me talk about this image. So let's talk about the Lewis this age, standing in front of a mirror.
Yeah. And what I do is I stand in front of myself as a child. I imagine myself, but to do it, imagine looking at the mirror as yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to say is when you were this age and you stood in front of the mirror, you had a totally different relationship with yourself because you still loved yourself.
Yeah.
You still thought that you were a great kid and you wanted all the things that the adult Lewis wants.
Right.
You want to feel loved. You want to feel seen. You want to feel heard. You want to feel like you matter. And you, in seeing yourself when you were this age, felt those things for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And somewhere along the way, you lost it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to say is that when you stand in front of this mirror, exactly what Lewis is talking about, when you've got coaches that scream at you and degrade you and you know, sure, it makes you run faster, but it leaves its mark.
It does.
It leaves its mark. And so there's research. So let me talk about why this is so motivating, particularly because so many of your audience love sports, right? So they did a study where they looked at NBA teams. And what they wanted to take a look at was, does fist bumps, backpacks, and high fives make a difference in a team winning? Touch, right?
Didn't they do like a 2020 special on this or something? I
don't know, but if they did, I need to watch it.
Yeah.
But so like the power of touch, but I think it's deeper. It's the power of encouragement.
Interesting.
And so what they found is that in the study, at least in the years that they looked at, you could take a look at the teams that made it to the championships in the NBA, go all the way back to the preseason, and those were the teams that had the most number of fist bumps and back pats and high fives. Yep.
Wow.
And the same was true about the teams that were the lowest in the league at the end of the season. They had the least amount of fist bumps, high fives, and touch. Why?
So they're the least encouraging.
Correct. Those sorts of gestures build trust and partnership. I'm telling you, when you stand in front of a mirror and ignore yourself, you're like the losing NBA team.
Interesting.
Selfish, on your own, isolated. You're not in partnership with the person you're staring at in the mirror. You don't have your own back because you're ignoring yourself.
Yes.
There's another study, and this one is, I think, even more powerful. So they did this study where they wanted to know what's the most motivating thing to help somebody get through a really big challenge. The researchers divide kids into 3 groups, right? And they gave each of the groups of kids very challenging problems to work through. And they wanted to measure, okay, how resilient, how long would they work, what were their attitudes like? And then they measured it based on, well, what form of praise or support are we going to give each one of these groups? And let's see what's the most empowering.
Interesting.
First group gets what we know to be the fixed mindset stuff. The praise was all verbal praise, and it was simply about a trait. Lewis, you are so smart. Lewis, you are a super student, praising something that is just sort of a compliment about you. The second group of students working on a challenging problem got praise based on work ethic, so something in their control. Oh, Lewis, you're working so hard. Lewis, you got such good perseverance. Lewis, you're really like just grinding away over there. Good job. Those guys did better than Lewis, you're smart. Lewis, hardworking, better. The third group, the researchers simply walked up, did not say a word, and high-fived the kid.
Really?
That's it. That's it.
That group, literally, exponentially, more motivated, worked longer, worked through more challenging problems. Now, here's the big question. Why? Why would a simple high five with no verbal praise be more empowering and motivating and inspiring and develop more resilience and confidence and motivation inside somebody? And the reason why is this. A high five affirms your deepest fundamental needs. It's not just a gesture. When you high five somebody, particularly somebody who has either blown the free throw shot or is working on something difficult or going through a really hard time, when you high five them, you're saying, I see you. When you high five them during a challenge, you actually are acknowledging, I know this is hard. So the person feels heard. And because it's one-to-one, and you have to be really intentional. Like if you and I go to high five, like we have to focus on it. That was a good one.
That was good.
If you miss it, what do? You
got to do it again.
Correct. So there's an intentionality behind it, and that makes you feel like you're being affirmed as a unique individual.
Interesting.
And so all of those things are in that one gesture. Now, it goes even more. So there's even more here. So I was talking to our buddy, Dr. Daniel Amen, right? And so one of the world's leading experts on brains, he's got like 60,000 brain scans.
I think it's like 120,000.
Oh, is it at this point?
Crazy, yeah.
So he was so excited about the high five habit, he completely geeked out. He's like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. He's like, yes, neurobics, yes, 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 yes. So he said, let me tell you what else is going on, Mel. And I'm like, really? There's more? He said, yeah. He said, you know how when you do it, you said you felt like a little kind of boost in your mood. He said, well, there are two things going on there. He said, first of all, when you cross a finish line in a race, what do you do?
Put your hands up.
Yeah. What do you do when your favorite team scores?
High five someone.
Yeah, you high five somebody. What do you do at a musical concert? Yay! What do? You're raising your hand in celebration when you high five somebody or fist bump them or put your arm around them. That raised arm gesture in a positive sense triggers your nervous system to tingle with celebration. It's the energy of celebration, even if you're going through something difficult. And even more, you get a dopamine drip when you do this. And so part of the reason why you feel this kind of shift in your mood and you feel a little bit of like, oh, okay, I can face this, I can do this, I got this, is because of the dopamine, it's because of the nervous system, and it's because of all of this positive programming associated with that gesture. Isn't that crazy?
That's powerful. It's powerful. I mean, so what does someone do, though, if they just constantly have the negative self-talk in their mind that they're no good? Do they go in front of the mirror, every 10 minutes and do this?
No.
Or is there another strategy behind the negative self-talk?
Well, okay. So first things first, definitely make this high five in the mirror a habit, okay? So start practicing it. Give it 5 to 10 days and start to see what happens. The second thing that you can do with negative self-talk, okay, is you need to start to interrupt it. So the thing about negative self-talk is that it is typically something you've engaged in since you were yay high. And in addition to it being wired into your brain, it is also something that can get triggered by your nervous system in stressful situations. And so the first step, and we can talk more about the filter in your brain and how the filter in your brain is causing you to stay stuck in a lot of this negative self-talk and how to use your mind to help you. But the first step is you got to do the awful part of getting self-aware of what the voice is saying. And the way that you do that, there's a couple techniques that you can use to create what researchers or psychologists call objectivity. You want to separate yourself from the voice. So you can do what Lewis is doing. He's writing down right now in a journal. You can keep just a little notebook with you, and you can kind of catalog when your attitude tanks. And what are you actually saying to yourself? Okay.
So should we write down all the things we're saying?
You could.
Negative about ourselves?
You can. You can. I personally do it this way. I start to notice when I feel down, or I start to notice when my energy drops. And then I tune into what I'm thinking about. And if it's negative, I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I literally notice, oh, you're sitting there thinking you're a bad person again. Oh, you're sitting there thinking that somebody's mad at you again.
Oh, you're sitting there thinking that you screw everything up again. Oh, you're sitting there thinking that that nothing ever works out for you. Oh, oh, you're sitting there thinking that you've blown it. Interesting. And then I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I go, I'm not thinking about that. That's the most basic technique to use, because what I want you to do, since this is like operating on autopilot, it's encoded right here. When you're not really thinking, this is what's running, kind of like the soundtrack of your life. When you just start to notice that you have a thought that's not helping you, you can't control that it popped up, but guess what you can do? You can smack it down.
Yeah.
And so I use the 5-second rule, which we've talked about a lot on your show. Count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The counting backwards awakens your prefrontal cortex. It gives you a moment of control. And then the way to build distance, Lewis, is say, I'm not thinking about that. And here's why. You're so used to thinking this way, I can't just say, stop thinking you're fat and start thinking that you love your body.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
So you've got to go, oh, there I am. I'm trashing the way that I look. I'm telling myself that I'm overweight. I look like shit. I'm hideous. Nobody's going to love me. Be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am not thinking about that. It's an act of defiance. See, I want you to go from these negative thought patterns to a more positive, empowering, high-five attitude. Because if you continue to live in, I'm fat, I'm unworthy, no one's going to love me, I've screwed up my life, that will be your life.
Right.
And the trick on this is, I'm not saying change your thoughts and unicorns appear. I'm saying change your thoughts so you stop the 24/7 beatdown.
Yeah.
And learn how to lift yourself up so that you can face the things that are going on in your life, and so that you can take the actions that you need to take to change your life. Because the reason why you're not changing is not because you're not capable. It's not because of the trauma or your past or anything else. It's because of the beatdown. That's why you're not changing.
Yeah, it's draining.
It's draining. It's demoralizing. It is, and by the way, if you constantly are like, I'm unlovable, I'm worthy, I'm this, I'm that, why on earth would you feel motivated, or do you think you deserve to change? If that's the thing in your mind. It doesn't work. And so pay attention. When you feel your energy go negative, be like, oh, okay, what am I, oh, whoa, that's disgusting. 5, 4, 3, I'm not thinking about that. You don't have to insert anything else. Let's just practice shutting it the hell up.
Right.
The second thing you can do is, once you kind of get good at interrupting it, I want you to name, like, let's turn it into a character. So I did this with our son Oakley when he was struggling pretty profoundly with anxiety when he was in the 5th grade. He named his anxiety Oliver. And then we asked him to describe Oliver. And Oliver was like this pimply-faced kid that, what is that, the Diary of the Wimpy Kid kind of bully-looking kid? And whenever the negative worries and stuff would come up, he would you could literally hear him go, Oliver, shut up. And it is the ability, what's happening when you name it and picture the person, is that you're able to detach yourself from that voice in your mind that's talking. Because that voice is typically a caregiver that either talked to you that way or talked to themselves that way, or some bully or some trauma experience or some nasty coach that beat this into your head. It's from somebody else. And so we want you to separate yourself so you can be like, oh, that's what Oliver sounds like. That's not actually how I want to talk to myself.
Right.
And so identifying it, interrupting it, and then you can get into the really incredible magic of rewiring your brain to work for you.
Yeah, I think Ethan Kross, who's a psychologist out of the University of Michigan, has a book called Chatter, which is about all the different psychological strategies for eliminating the negative self-talk and improving the quality of your mind. And he says, start coaching yourself just like you would have a great coach coaching you. Have someone like a character in your mind coaching you, celebrating you with your self-talk to help you kind of shift out of that by interrupt it, then coach yourself.
What would Lewis say to me? What would Mel say to me?
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the tricky part of this. So the tricky part of this is that I personally think most mantras are also complete garbage. And the reason why I say that is because you don't freaking believe them.
Right.
So if you think you're worthless, you're never going to be able to stand in front of a mirror and change your life by going, "I'm worthy," because your brain's like, "Who?
No, you're not.
What?
Yeah.
No, you're not. We've been talking about this for your life. You're not
Yes.
worthy. You want me to show you something?" So you have to interrupt it, and if you're going to try to replace it, what you need to do are two things. Number one, you have got to come up with, I should have called it pathetic mantra because it would have been easier to remember. In the book, I called it a meaningful mantra. We should just call it a pathetic mantra. You need to come up with something that's like, okay. You know, like if you're really like bad and you think you're a horrible person, like don't make your mantra, "I'm amazing." Make your mantra like, "I'm doing the best I can."
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
Something simple.
yeah, you can believe that, right? You can believe, yeah, I'm trying. You know, I'm not meaning to screw up. I'm doing the best I can. Like that I believe.
Yeah.
And that's better than, boy,
I'm the best in the world right now.
yeah, no, you're never going to believe that.
Yeah.
Ever, ever, ever. Like, for example, if you struggle with health and weight and stuff, it's probably going to be hard for you to stand in front of a mirror and be like, "I love my body," because you've been rejecting it. So instead, look at yourself in the mirror and use a meaningful mantra. I deserve to feel healthy.
Right.
And I'm going to treat myself in a way that proves it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's different. It's different because it's believable. The only other thing that will change the way that you think is behavioral activation therapy. So there's a lot of the tools in this book that are grounded as a baseline in the body of research
Yeah.
around behavioral activation therapy, which I know you talk about all the time on the show, which is basically act like the person you want to become.
Right.
If you want to be more like Lewis, act like Lewis. Follow his morning routine. Take his advice. Interrupt the garbage, Oliver, in your head. 5, 4, 3. I'm not talking to you, Oliver. What would Lewis say to me? How would Lewis talk to Lewis? And start to act like the person you want to become, and something interesting happens. And this is why the high five works, by the way, because it is an action. You are acting like somebody
Right.
who believes in and loves themselves.
Yeah.
That's why it works.
Move into motion. Don't just think only, but
Yes.
move and act.
So,
on it.
so when you see yourself, you know, we always talk about positive morning routines. Let's talk about negative ones, okay? Because your negative patterns are the reason why you have
Right.
horrible self-talk.
Right.
Like when I was in law school, I hated my life. My anxiety was out of control. I was out of control. I hated law school. And so my behavior actually reflected my state of mind. I would wake up hungover. I would immediately think, "Oh my God, I'm late." I would then reach for a cigarette and light it. Then I would run around the apartment getting dressed and trying to find everything because nothing was organized. I would then quickly drive to Dunkin' Donuts, even though I had no time, to stop for coffee. I'd get a big old coffee with 4 sugars and 2 creams, smoking another cigarette on the way, speeding my whole way there. Then I would sit in class, be panic-stricken about being called on. Same thing again. Then I would sit at lunch, pick at a salad, gossip with friends, avoid the homework. Then I would go to the library, procrastinate forever. Then I would drive home, split a bottle of wine with my roommate, fall asleep, wake up, repeat. When you see somebody's actions, you can typically predict just how bad they're trapped in their mind.
Absolutely.
But I think we all are. I mean, I think even people that have healthy habits don't have a healthy relationship with themselves. That your self-talk is ground zero. Because how you talk to yourself, what you think about yourself when you look in the mirror, that sort of default setting in your mind, geez Louise, I mean, it makes me really sad, honestly. I gave my first speech in 2 years because of the pandemic yesterday in Salt Lake. And there was a book line. And even though everybody had masks and they were 6 feet away, you could see the pain in people's eyes, the isolation, the sadness, the overwhelm, the feeling of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And I think that people are feeling way more uncertain and afraid than they're actually saying right now. That the sustained amount of change that we've been having to manage,
Yeah.
it's too much. You know, it's a lot. And if you stand in front of the mirror and you can't see somebody that's worth supporting through this, you're just going to continue to go down. Because the one person that you spend your whole life with is you.
Yes.
And this is the relationship you need to be working on. Like you want to be loved, you better learn how to love yourself. You want to feel worthy, stop looking for it out there and treat yourself like you're worthy. How do you do that? Well, by pushing through the resistance and raising your, like if you can't freaking high five your reflection,
Right.
you can't do that. How the hell are you going to make things happen in your life if you don't think you are worthy of support and celebration, particularly when life is hard?
Yeah, how you gonna believe that other people are going to do that for you as well? If you can't do it for yourself, why would other people?
Well, actually, this is why people's relationships don't work out. Because you're looking outside yourself for the things you actually need.
For validation.
Correct. You are chasing people and seeking validation in romantic relationships. And that will end when you can stand in front of that mirror and validate yourself. When you build yourself up, when you support yourself, you show up totally differently for everybody else. When you know that you can have your own back, you're not going to be looking for the validation from your boss or your friends or all these other things. People have problems with boundaries because they can't look themselves in the eye. So how the hell are they going to look somebody else in the eye and say, actually, this doesn't work for me? Do you feel like you worry too much? Do you feel like you live in your head too much? Do you wish that your mind was a more positive place? You know, my daughter and I are here in Miami, and I'm just like you. My mind can be my worst enemy. I was laying in bed last night and I had fallen asleep and I kept waking up. And you know what I was thinking about? I was waking up because I could hear people in the hallway kind of coming in from a late night of partying. And you know what the first thing that my mind defaulted to? There being a fire in the hotel. And I started having these visions of my daughter and I going down the stairwell and getting trapped. And then I had visions of us being on the balcony on this room and fire kind of engulfing. And what are we doing? Are we tying a rope? I mean, it's just insanity, absolute insanity. And I used the techniques that I teach you. I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am not thinking about this. And the thought disappeared because I constantly reset my mindset. And, you know, one of the reasons why I'm telling you this is if you are tired of feeling negative, if you feel often that your own thoughts are the things that trip you up in life, that you wish that your mind were more positive, I'm telling you that I'm the same way. Just because I teach this stuff, just because I study this, just because I do what I do for a living, doesn't make me immune to what it means to be human. And what it means to be human is that your brain and your body want you to survive. Your brain and your body remember situations that scare the daylights out of you. Your brain and your body try to talk you out of anything that makes you feel risky. And your brain, given that it has been trained by situations in the past, and given that you allow it to worry all the time, you have a habit of doing it, if you're not careful and you're not deliberate, your brain will default to scary crap like mine was last night. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means that your brain is thinking something that's broken, and it's time for you to reset your mindset and pull it back. Because first of all, nobody is coming. I mean, if you've been sitting around waiting for somebody to discover you, to pick you, to save you, to rescue you, to give you your shot, it's not fucking happening. Like, at some point, you got to wake up and realize when you're 18 and you're out of that house, you have to parent yourself. Your life is your responsibility. And as a woman, one of the things that I found to be extraordinarily transformational is when I stopped, in a very traditional sense, looking to my partner to be responsible for providing for me, providing financially, providing the support, providing. When I realized, wait a minute, it starts with me. I have to be able to figure out how to make myself happy. That's, by the way, the secret to a happy relationship. Marry somebody who's happy and work on your own happiness.
Preach.
And so when you stop outsourcing your happiness, your validation, your support, all of it, and you bring it back in and you get responsible for it, it sounds scary. It's so liberating because you could do anything. When you're responsible, when you're the driver of your life, when you're not looking out to anybody else to fix it for you, can you ask for help? Of course. but the buck stops with you. You're the one that has to do the work. You're the one who has to push your own ass. You're the one who has to figure out what makes you happy. You're the one who has to figure out and become self-aware about what you need. And then you're the one that has to find whatever it is, the courage or being humble enough to ask for help. Even if it's asking for help from the biggest ally that you have, which is the person staring back at you in the mirror every damn morning.
Yeah, I don't know why people aren't more obsessed with their goals. It's like, if my goals demand that I ask for help, then I'm going to ask for help. Like, I'm not even going to let anything else get in the way. I'm just so obsessed with, if my goal is exciting and honorable, then I should actually want to achieve it. And therefore, whatever it is that I need to do.
So, Tom, this is why. And this comes back to what has made me really sad and deeply moved by the kinds of things that people are sharing. Most people aren't obsessed with their goals because they don't believe they're worthy of them. It's easy to dream about what you want, but in between where you are and what you want, there's a tremendous amount of stuff you got to change and do. And if you have a lot of trauma in your background, or you were raised by somebody who beat the shit out of you or told you were a piece of shit, or if you've had to deal with microaggressions or racist, discriminatory, systematic crap your entire life, you have been given the message over and over and over, even though it's not true, that you don't deserve it, that there's something wrong with you. And if you don't, at some point, be defiant against what the world or your caregivers or your past experience has pounded into your brain incorrectly, unfairly, you will forever be stuck with that story. You are not responsible for what happened to you. You survived what happened to you. But you do have a responsibility to heal yourself and to do the work to change so that you can be the happy, fulfilled person that you were born to be.
Yeah, that's really powerful because it's the only thing that works. And, you know, thinking about, so many people have just immense things that have happened that have been unfair. And as you said, they didn't do anything to deserve it. But now what? Now you're there, you've got the trauma, and no one can heal it for you. There's a name for it. I think it's called the pedestrian problem. It's like, imagine that you get hit by a car and the driver was drunk. And let's say that the driver was Bill Gates. And let's say that you win a settlement. But if the damage that happened to your body can't be fixed with all the money in the world, and you just have to do physical therapy, then it's like, even though it is unfair that you have to do the physical therapy, there is no amount of money that you can throw at it that will stop you from having to suffer to build yourself back up. And I think a lot of people either fall prey to trap number one, which is they don't think they're worthy, or they fall prey to trap number two, which is it's so unfair they just don't take action.
Right.
But they're nonetheless in the situation that they're in. And if the whole punchline to life is neurochemistry and feeling joyful and, you know, being excited about who you are when you're by yourself, then it's like, well, you have to do the work, even if it isn't fair. And that to me,
especially if it isn't. Because there's two kinds of prisons that you can sentence yourself to or be sentenced to, right? One is all the physical shit you're talking about. The circumstances of your life, the circumstances of your body, the circumstances that are unfair. And then there is the mental prison. And that's the one you're in control of. So people can do all kinds of shit to you. And you can be born into situations that are not fair. They're not safe. They're cruel. It's unfair. You didn't deserve it. But the real power that you always have is how you react to it mentally. I'm not saying put lipstick on a pig and ignore the very real problems you're facing. I'm saying it begins with your mental attitude about your own ability to face it and to survive it and to move past it. That's what I'm saying. Because without that, like, let's go back to the woman in the domestic violence shelter who's had the shit beaten out of her by partners, who has immense emotional trauma stored in her nervous system, stored in the neurochemistry of her brain. She has an extraordinary amount of hurdles to get through in her life, to heal, to be safe, to break patterns that are associated with the trauma that she's experienced as a child, the trauma that she experienced in romantic relationships, the physical abuse. She has issues related to poverty. Can a human being survive those things and change? Of course they can. It begins, though, with the belief that you can. And so when I come back to this moment every single morning, you can have nothing and you can still have your own back. You can have tremendous problems and very real obstacles that you're facing. And you can have a mindset that says, through my efforts, my attitude, I can have an impact on the situation that I'm in. That's the power that I have. I can ask for help because I believe I deserve it. I can seek therapy because I believe I should heal because I deserve that. I can seek information from shows like Impact Theory about how to break trauma patterns, about how to regulate my nervous system, because I believe I am worthy of that. When I raise my hand in the mirror, I'm basically saying, fuck off to these people that hurt me because I believe that I deserve better. That's where it begins. It begins with you. Self-confidence, self-love, self-esteem, self-reliance, self-awareness. It all has the same self. You have to give yourself those things. You want validation? Give it to yourself. You want to be cheered for? Give it to yourself. You want to feel supported in life? Start by giving those things to yourself, because the most important relationship that you have is the one you have with yourself, and you work on it the least. It's the foundation of every relationship you have. And so I believe that there are simple things you can do, from looking at hearts, which doesn't solve your problems. It proves to you that it's possible to change the way your brain works. That's why I want you to do it. It's not going to take away poverty. It's not going to make you lose 100 pounds. It's going to prove to you that, shit, you do have power over the way your mind works. And when you get crafty about training your brain, you can do really cool shit. And when your attitude is optimistic, based on research, we know that you will work harder and keep going because you believe that it makes a difference. It begins with these simple things. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.